When a bonded companion dies, a dog may refuse to leave the door. It may carry the deceased animal's toy from room to room without playing with it. It may stop eating, stop responding to its name, and spend hours motionless in a location it previously shared with the one it lost. These behaviors have been documented across breeds, ages, and living conditions. They are not confusion, they are grief. Neurologically measurable, evolutionarily coherent, and frequently mismanaged by the humans observing them. Searching behavior. Dogs descended from Canis lupus, the gray wolf, a species that lives and hunts in tightly coordinated social units, where the loss of a single member has immediate survival consequences. When a pack member disappeared, the surviving wolf's fitness depended on locating that individual or establishing with certainty that the bond was permanently severed. That search drive is preserved entirely in the domestic dog's behavioral repertoire. When a bonded companion dies, the dog's brain continues generating expectation signals. Oxytocin and vasopressin, neurochemicals that reinforce long-term social bonds, do not deactivate because a companion is absent. They continue producing anticipatory states. The dog searches because its nervous system has not received a chemical signal sufficient to terminate the bond protocol. Owners who physically prevent this searching, confining the dog, blocking access to rooms the deceased companion used, are interrupting a neurological process that requires completion through exhaustion, not obstruction. Allowing the dog to search to confirm absence repeatedly across familiar locations is the mechanism through which the bond protocol eventually deactivates. Vocalization changes. Wolf packs use howling as a long-distance contact call, a signal broadcast when a group member is out of range, designed to elicit a response and re-establish location. Domestic dogs inherited this mechanism intact. A grieving dog that howls repeatedly, whines at doors, or vocalizes in patterns it never previously exhibited is running an ancient contact protocol toward a recipient that can no longer respond. The anterior cingulate cortex, the neural region associated with social pain across all mammals, activates in dogs experiencing companion loss in patterns nearly identical to those observed in humans experiencing bereavement. Vocalization during this activation is a regulatory behavior. It is the nervous system attempting to discharge social distress through the communication channel most associated with social bonding. Owners who punish grief vocalization are not stopping the distress. They are adding a threat signal to an already dysregulated nervous system, which consistently prolongs recovery timelines rather than shortening them. Appetite suppression. A 2016 ASPC, a survey documented that 36% of dogs ate significantly less following the death of a companion animal. The physiological mechanism is direct. The hypothalamus regulates both feeding behavior and the stress response system. When cortisol rises and serotonin drops in response to social loss, hypothalamic feeding signals are suppressed. In a wolf pack context, this was functionally coherent. A grieving, socially destabilized animal redirects cognitive and metabolic resources toward threat assessment rather than feeding. In a domestic environment, the timeline matters clinically. Unlike cats, dogs do not face the acute hepatic lipidosis risk associated with short-term food refusal. However, appetite suppression extending beyond 72 hours in dogs indicates a stress response of sufficient magnitude to warrant veterinary assessment. Prolonged cortisol elevation has measurable immunosuppressive effects. Grief in dogs is not merely behavioral. It has documented physiological consequences on immune function, cardiovascular baseline, and gastrointestinal motility. Owners attempting to resolve appetite suppression by switching foods, adding palatability enhancers, or hand feeding are addressing the symptom rather than the mechanism. Appetite returns reliably when the underlying stress response begins to resolve, not before. Shadow behavior and attachment transfer. Dogs that occupied a socially subordinate position relative to a deceased companion frequently exhibit immediate and intense redirection of attachment toward the human owner. They follow from room to room, position themselves in constant physical contact, and show distress responses, whining, pacing, destructive behavior when the owner is briefly out of sight. This is attachment transfer, and it operates on a straightforward neurochemical logic. The dog's bonding drive, the oxytocin oxytocin-mediated social attachment system was previously distributed across multiple recipients. When one recipient is removed, the drive does not diminish. It concentrates entirely on the remaining bonded individual. In wolf packs, this mechanism functions as social cohesion under stress. When a pack loses a member, surviving wolves increase affiliative behaviors, contact, proximity, coordinated movement with remaining pack members. The domestic dog's version is neurologically identical. The behavior that owners experience as clinginess is, from the dog's nervous system perspective, a precision survival response. Lethargy and postural compression. A grieving dog frequently reduces its baseline activity by 40 to 60%. It adopts compressed resting postures, limbs tucked, head lowered, tail stilled, and maintains these postures for extended periods in locations associated with the deceased companion. The autonomic basis is parasympathetic dominance. When the social stress of unresolved loss exceeds a threshold, the parasympathetic nervous system initiates a conservation state, reducing heart rate, suppressing muscle tone, and shifting metabolic resources away from activity. This state is not depression in a clinical human sense. It is a phylogenetically ancient response to social disruption observed across canids, primates, and cetaceans. The conservation state has a functional duration. Forcing the dog out of it prematurely through mandatory exercise, enforced play, or persistent stimulation does not accelerate recovery. It interrupts the neurological recalibration the state is designed to complete, and in documented cases, extends the total grief duration. Scent-seeking behavior. Dogs possess approximately 300 million olfactory receptors, roughly 40 times the human count. Their relationship to social bonding is fundamentally olfactory in a way that has no human equivalent. A bonded companion is not primarily a visual or auditory presence for a dog. It is a scent profile, specific, complex, and neurologically encoded through repeated association with oxytocin release. When that companion dies, their scent persists in the environment for days to weeks, in bedding, toys, furniture, and floors. A grieving dog will locate and remain near these scent sources with precision and persistence. It will carry the deceased companion's objects without interacting with them in any play-associated way. It will return repeatedly to the deceased's primary resting location. This is olfactory grief processing. The dog is using its primary sensory modality to maintain neurochemical contact with a bonded presence that is no longer physically available. Removing all scent traces immediately after a companion's death, laundering bedding, discarding toys, cleaning shared spaces, eliminates the olfactory data the dog's nervous system is actively using to process the loss. The behavioral literature consistently recommends delaying environmental decontamination until the dog has voluntarily reduced its scent-seeking behavior. Recovery timeline and new companion. Introduction. Canine grief resolution follows a wider timeline than feline grief. Studies compiled by the School of Veterinary Science at the University of Sydney indicate that observable grief behaviors in dogs resolve between 6 weeks and 6 months, with intensity and duration correlating most strongly with the length and exclusivity of the original bond. Dogs that were raised together from puppyhood or that lived as the sole companion pair in a household consistently show longer and more intense grief trajectories. The most significant environmental predictor of recovery speed is human social engagement, not forced activity, but consistent, calm presence. Dogs recovering from companion loss show faster cortisol normalization in households where human contact remains stable and predictable, compared to households where owners, distressed by the dog's grief, alter their own behavior and routines in response. Introducing a new dog during active grief is among the most common and consequential errors owners make. A new dog introduced while the grieving dog is still in active searching or conservation states is processed as a territorial intrusion, not a social replacement. Stress responses intensify. Recovery timelines extend. The behavioral consensus is consistent. New companion introduction should follow the complete return to baseline feeding, activity, and sleep patterns, not precede it. Canine grief is not an anthropomorphic projection. It is the output of a nervous system that evolved for intense, long-duration social bonding across hundreds of thousands of years of pack living. When that bond is severed, the system responds with the same precision and the same physiological physiological weight with which it was built.